Hello guys, today in this live stream we will basically be looking at how to implement Redux state management library inside your React.js application. We will look at this simple example where we can basically change the number of books here. Basically this is our state or data of our application, React.js application. We have two buttons out there, buy book and sell book. So as we click these buttons right here guys, you will see the state is changing here, the data is changing. So we will try to implement this using Redux, using the React Redux library, and also we will look at the hooks here, which will be useSelector and useDispatch hooks. We will look at the concept of how to basically implement the Redux library inside your React.js application. So let's start this live stream here. So first of all, we will basically build a brand new project. So let me just close this and start from scratch. So here I will go to my projects directory guys, and I will make a new project which I will call this as Redux project. I will cd into this and open this inside Visual Studio Code text editor. You will see there is a brand new directory out there, and for this guys we will use an Vite module bundler, so VITE. And so Vite basically guys, it's a module bundler which is an alternative to Webpack. You can basically select any project here. Let me select React project and JavaScript. So now we just need to go into this directory and install all the dependencies. So the advantage of using Vite guys, basically it makes the process of developing React.js applications very fast. You will see how fastly it will install all these dependencies. So now we simply need to run the dev server npm run dev. So our application is started. You will see localhost 5173. So it has started. You will see that. Now guys, we will implement the dependency. All the source code guys that I will be using in this live stream is given in the description of this live stream. You can check it. You can go to the description and get all the source code. So now to basically do this guys, we will need two external dependencies. As you all know, Redux is an external dependency. It doesn't come with React. So if you just go to npmjs.com, we will first of all need to install Redux, which is predictable state container. You can see it's a very popular library, 8 million downloads. And we will also need specifically for React as well, React-Redux. So this is only applicable to React. You will see that it also has 6 million downloads. If you don't know about Redux guys, basically it's a library for managing state. It's a very popular library, and it's a predictable state library for JavaScript apps. It is not limited to React. You can even use it with vanilla JavaScript, Angular, Vue.js or Redux. So basically for every framework we have library for Redux. So specifically React Redux is that. So first of all we need to install these. So we will simply say npm I Redux and React Redux. So we will install these two packages. So simply install these packages. So now inside your package.json file guys, inside your dependency you will see 18.2 and 18. So this is the latest version of React.js at the time of recording this video. So 18 is the latest version, and React Redux 8 version, and Redux is 4.2. So just make sure that you're installing the latest version. And now guys, in order to implement the Redux, we will first of all delete all this stuff from here. Let me delete all this stuff. So Redux basically guys, for Redux we just need to create some files here. So I will not explain the theory part here. I will implement the Redux here. So first of all, in the source directory we will basically look at the book example. So we will now create a new directory called as book, and inside this directory guys, as you all know, in Redux we have a reducer, we have actions, and we have a store. So here we will basically first of all create a file called as bookstore.js. You can call this as anything guys, but as we are working with the book example, so that's why we have called this as bookstore. So inside this file guys, what we need to do is that we need to create a store for our Redux. So for creating the store, guys, as you all know, basically we will basically create a store. So export const, and we will call this store as bookstore. And here, guys, we will use the create store method. This create store method is available from the Redux library. So here we just need to import this method, which is create store, and this will be coming from the Redux library. So after this, guys, basically this function expects a reducer function. So here we just need to pass our reducer function. So this reducer function we haven't created, so we need to create that reducer function, which will actually change the state that we will define. So right inside this book directory, guys, we will create another file which will called as book reducer.js. So this function, as you all know, guys, in reducer, basically it's a function which is responsible for manipulating the state of the application depending upon the action which is passed. So now to create this reducer function, guys, we will first of all initialize the initial state that we will use. So you can call this as anything, but I will call this as initial state. This will be a simple object. So basically this is the global state of our application. So here you will define all the data that you will need for your React.js application. For now, we will basically have a simple variable where we will hold the number of books. So I will basically type a static value 20 books. So this is all the data that we will manipulate for our React.js application. A simple object which contains a property of number of books, which is 20. So it's a JavaScript object. So now we will basically create a function, guys. Reducer is a function, so book reducer. And here, as you all know, guys, reducer function takes two parameters, the state and the action. So here we will basically pass the state, initial value of the state, which will be initial state, and then it will also get the action as well, which will be passed from the action file. So here, as we all know, guys, we use a switch statement, and we will compare the action. Action contains two properties, the type and the payload. Payload refers to the data that is given. So here we will compare the type. So we will basically have various cases here. So this can be in like this. You can say buy book or sell book. We will have two cases for buying the book and selling the book. But the correct convention is that, guys, you need to basically don't put right here as constant value. You need to define it in a different file. I am just showing you the convention that is follows. You can just create a new file, booktypes.js, and here you can define all your actions. We can export const, and basically inside capital letters we will say this will be buying book, and we can create another action here which will be selling book. So we will say sell book. So here we will say sell book, sell underscore book. So every time whenever you want to change the action name, you can simply change this in a single file and all the changes will be reflected back. So this is a very nice way. Now we can simply, instead of writing like this, we can say buy book. This will be imported here from book types. You will see that. So we have added this export keyword here, guys. That's why we are able to use it inside this file, which is automatically imported. So now when the user buys a book, guys, we will simply return a state. We will write like this. We will return the state object, and inside this we will copy all the state like this dot state. This refers to the operators, and here we will manipulate the number of books. So this will be equal to, we will say that state dot number of books minus, let's suppose, -2. So in this case, guys, we are basically buying the book. Here let me change it to -1. So we are subtracting, whenever we buy the book, we are subtracting with -1 with the from the initial state, which is 20. So whenever you press this button, it will become 19, 18, 17 like this. So now we will have the second case, guys, which will be for selling the book. So we will have the sell book. This will also get imported from the book types that we declared, and this time opposite will be happened. So we will write the same logic, but this time number of books, state dot number of books, and this will be incremented because we are selling the book. So our books will be incremented by 1, you will see. So every time when you press this button, it will become 21, 22, 23. So now we just need to export this function, guys. We just write here export const book reducer. That's all. Sorry, this needs to be export default. So we are exporting this function, guys, so that we can use it inside our bookstore file. So just go to bookstore file, guys. So now we can basically pass this reducer here, book reducer. So it will be automatically imported from book reducer here like this. So now we have successfully created our store, guys, bookstore. So now what we need to do is that we need to register the store, guys. So registering the store is very easy. Now what we need to do is that we need to go to main.jsx file, and right here we can basically include the provider tag, which basically comes right here. You can import this, which comes from React Redux. So we have installed this library, which is React Redux. So we just need to wrap this inside the provider tag here, so that each and every component which is there, which will be able to use this. So we just need to write like this. So our app, now all the components which is will be able to access the state which is declared, which is bookstore. You can see that we are basically, so here we need to pass a attribute, guys. This takes an attribute called as store, and here inside the store we just need to basically pass that reference here which we created, bookstore. So we will simply pass bookstore here. So it will be automatically imported from the book folder which we have created, bookstore, and it also will import book reducer as well. So we have registered this, guys. This is very easy. You need to go to main.jsx file and wrap it inside the provider tag, which comes from React Redux, and then you need to provide this attribute which is called as store, and inside this you need to pass your bookstore. That's all. So now after this, guys, we will able to access any sort of state that is declared. So now to access this state, guys, it's very easy. You need to go to app.jsx. We can basically create a components folder inside our source. We can create a new component. Let's suppose I create a new component called as child, and let me create a functional component. So now we can basically include this component inside this file. We can say that child. So I think we just need to import this. We have created child component here. So we can simply import this component here from components, and then we can import this like this. So now we can simply include this component which is child. So if you see now right here, if you refresh this application, guys, if I simply go to my let me just start this application, npm run dev. It is saying that no matching export. Sorry, let me rename this to child and change this to child here, and also child here. So let me just include this child here. So it will be automatically imported. You will see import child, and if you see, guys, basically if you refresh it, child component is rendered out there. So now inside this child component, guys, if I wanted to access the state here that I declared right here inside my bookstore, inside book reducer we have the state called as number of books. Let's suppose if I wanted to print this variable 20. So how we can do that? It's very easy. We have this hook, guys, which is called as useSelector hook. This is automatically provided by React Redux, guys. Basically we will simply import this hook, import. So this is basically provided by this library which is React Redux, which is useSelector hook. We also have this useDispatch hook as well. So these are the two hooks which are provided by the React Redux library. And the main usage of this useSelector hook, guys, we will basically get the state. We will simply write useSelector, and inside this returns the state for our application. Write this return state, and we can destructure the property, guys, here. And sorry, inside curly brackets you just need to write return state. So this will return the state, and we just need to destructure the property. So we need this variable which is number of books. So as you can see, we have declared this property called as number of books. So we are destructuring it, and we are basically doing this. So now to print this, we can simply say here inside this div, inside h1 tag, we will say the number of books is, we can print this inside number of books. So now if you print this, guys, you will see that if I refresh this, I think you just need to refresh this. I think some error has taken place. Let me see. Cannot destructure property number of books of useSelector as it is undefined. Let me see, guys. I think inside my main.jsx I have included this store, bookstore. Export const bookstore. We are doing this from Redux. Oh, sorry. This is a case, guys. We also need to write the default case as well. That's why you are not seeing that. We do need to write the default case as well. So for the default case, we just need to return the state. So we just need to return the state. If no action is provided, we just need to return the state right here. That's all. So you just need to write this line as well. So if you write this line, guys, you will see the number of books is 20. So here basically what is meant by this line, guys, you do need to add this switch statement default, because if no action is provided, then in that case we just need to return the state, the current state or current data which is there, which is 20 in this case. So now if you see, you can use it inside any component. Your application may contain 500s of components. So in any component you can access this global state like this with the help of this useSelector hook. You just need to write this useSelector hook. It will return the current state of the application. And now we can simply have two buttons, guys, where we can change this state. We can say that buy book and sell book. So we will have two buttons which will change the state of this application. So we can define basically actions here. And now, guys, we will basically define our actions. So go to your book component, sorry, book folder, and here we will define the book actions.js. So just define this, and basically, guys, this will be two functions here. We will export this. So this will be for buy book action. So naming you can basically do by yourself, whatever naming that you like. So this will be the action for buying the book. So inside this function, guys, we will have an object, as you all know. This returns a object where we will have two properties. For now, there will be one property which will be call as type. So here we will simply say buy book, which will be imported from book types. We have declared this, if you see. this will be equal to buy underscore book. So here like this. And similarly guys, we will have the second one, which will be for here. Now this will be sell book action. So you can just change it sell book action. So here we will replace sell book. So just replace here sell book like this. So now we have defined these two basically actions guys. Basically now we can use these actions, and whenever I call this action guys, this will call this reducer function, which is defined right here inside book reducer. It will basically come to this switch statement, and then basically it will manipulate the state. It will increment whenever sell book is but pressed, and it will decrement when buy book is pressed. So now how to call this action guys, which we have defined buy book action and sell book action? It's very easy. Just go to your component child.jsx. We will basically now use the useDispatch hook. We will simply say here make a new variable, and here we will use useDispatch like this. It will be imported, you will see, from React Redux. And after this guys, you can dispatch any action to our Redux global state. We can basically define a function here which will be on click. Let me buy book, and let me define this function sell book. So inside let me define these two functions guys, which will be first of all buy book. So here guys, we will define we will use this function dispatch, and inside this guys we will call our action, which will be buy book action. We just need to call this function because this is a function. As you see, this is basically a function that we are exporting right here. So now we are calling this function guys. It will automatically gets called, and then basically it call our reducer function, which is defined right here buy book. And similarly we can write for our sell book function as well. So we have defined this sell book. Sell book, and inside this guys we will again use the dispatch, and this time we will call our sell book action. This is a function, that's all. And now if you refresh your application guys, you will now contain two buttons out there. If you refresh it, just refresh your application. So now you will see two buttons out there guys, which is buy book and sell book. So if I press this button, you will see as I am buying the book, the books are decreasing, and you will see that state is changing. Every time when I hit this button, one value is decreased. Now if I hit this sell book button, one value will be increasing here like this. So whatever we have defined inside our reducer function in order to manipulate our state, basically it is doing that process. So this logic we have defined this inside the reducer function. You will see that guys, this is our original state, which is 20. If you load this application, 20 will be printed out. Whenever you do this, this reducer function will get called by Redux, and this action first of all is calling that reducer function. Now we can even pass this as a payload guys. Let's suppose we will also have two properties inside our action. We can even have a payload property as well. So this property will be coming as basically a dynamic value, which is number. Here we can pass a number here. So we can even have a number here. So we can even pass dynamic data as well to these functions. Payload, basically it's an object. You can even pass multiple properties as well. It's an object, but here we are only passing a single property, so number here. So how to do this inside your and here also your reducer function, we need to access this as this is object. So action.payload. So just change here action.payload and just make it action.payload. So now this will be dynamic here guys. So now to call this inside, we will basically pass a property here. So let's suppose every time when I hit, I need to decrease this by 2. and this time I need to increase it by 3. So here you can see we are passing these dynamic values. So if you refresh now, if I buy a book, it is saying that we need to refresh it, I think. I think let me see what is the problem, guys. I think I have made a mistake here. So here we are basically taking the values here. We are passing it inside book action. I think this needs to be an object. Yeah, I think this needs to pass as an object. Here you can see that we are passing this payload as an object. We are taking this value bookstore, sorry, inside of a child component. By book action, use dispatch. I don't know why it is doing that. If I refresh it, if I go to my book reducer function, guys, if you see, so as you can see, this is our action here inside our bookstore. I think this needs to be a object. Let me change it to an object here. Let me change it like this. Number. If I now refresh it, let me just do this. Let me do in curly brackets. So it's an object. So I think why, I don't know what is the problem taking place here. Action.payload. So in this easy way, guys, you can also pass some data as well. I don't know what problem is taking place here. Action.payload.id. I think action.payload. So payload is actually the data that you're passing right here. So you can do that. So you can also provide a static value. So if you basically change this to a static value, so inside your child component, you just need to so as you can see, now this will work here perfectly. But whenever we are passing the dynamic data is certain, we change this to payload. So whenever go to bookstore, sorry, book action, let me call this n, 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 n. And now if I go to book reducer, so this will be action dot payload. Let me just console log action here, just to reducer function called, and then I concatenate the action value. Basically it's an object here. Every time when you click the button here, this will call itself. You can see that. So now it is perfectly working, guys. You will see that now it is perfectly working. I don't know why previously it was not working. I think it's related to the number here, number variable. So you can't name your variable as number. This was a childish mistake that I was making. So this number, basically it's a data type. You can't name it your variable as a number. So again, if I change it, I will face the same problem. You can see every time when I hit this button, this function will fire. Number, if I change it to number, if I refresh now, but still it is working right here. So I don't know previously why it was not working. You will see every time when I click this button, guys, this reducer function is getting called here. So this is the basic way, guys, we have explained you Redux from scratch, how basically we can implement this in order to change our state of our application. So thank you for watching this tutorial, and I will be seeing you in the next one.